By the way, Mick Foley joining us here.
Some homeless-looking man walked in.
I just drifted in.
Somebody give him $1
and a sandwich and send him on his way.
What we care about, this I'm speaking for myself, but I think it carries for everyone, is we want to see if people are willing to put in the work, if they have the respect for it. And when I see what you do, and you're sending me clips, and you want feedback, like putting in the work, you know, it's at a certain point, it's like, okay, I love Paul Walter Hauser, but how many of his matches can I possibly watch, you know? But look, the elbow he dropped was, I mean, that
was good.
That's guts, man. Like, you have to commit. That's not a natural thing for your body to stay in that position because you'll want to protect yourself and you want to tuck. So to commit like that and to the point of impact, that's really impressive to me.
And trial, thank you so much, dude. And trial and error, right? It's also, I have to get hurt to know how not to do something sometimes.
You better than me, because 2 rungs is all I got. I'm not climbing no more than 2 rungs on a ladder.
The best part for a lot of that stuff, too, is also first missing it. I remember working with Mick and wanting to drop the elbow on him, but I was like, I don't feel safe. And I was just like, Mick, just move. And then I ate the concrete. And then I was like, oh, wait, now I know why Mick walks a little funny.
Oh, it's the worst structural move.
A little?
And I'm walking better than I have in many years,
yes.
you know, but structurally.
You look fantastic, dude.
Oh, you
Mick,
look
what are you down, about 40, 50 pounds?
No, I'm down 98.
Holy shit.
I lost all that weight, and then, I was already starting to put it on pre-pandemic, and part of it was when I had the hip replaced and the knee replaced in 2017, it was like I had a new lease on life. I actually knew what it was like to pass someone in the airport, to not be asked by flight attendants if I needed assistance when I didn't even think I felt that bad. And then you get that changed. It's like,
it's amazing to be able to see your toes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And to bend over and tie your shoes and not
Tommy,
blow
you'll
up.
get there.
When I did commentary for WWE, I'd have to get a different guy every week to tie my shoes because I couldn't bend my knee. I could get to here. I'm for those listening. I'm doing the
leg cross.
The leg cross. Yeah. I could.
The Jericho.
Jericho.
Can you bounce it like Chris crosses his leg and then he bounces his foot like this?
Really?
And I'm like, hey man, stop doing that. And he'd be like, what?
The best is the Jesse Ventura. Where he
rock back and forth.
He rocks incessantly.
God, we're all so weird that we notice these things about our friends.
Yeah, well, that was the moment I talked to Strom Thurmond.
That's so good.
I love him just taking people to task. I'll look up Jesse Ventura interviews just on YouTube when I'm bored. Holy cow, is that a rabbit hole?
So, Paul, we talked a lot about the wrestling, but to get back into the acting...
That's Dave's way of saying he doesn't want to discuss that rabbit hole.
Safe.
He just cut you out. He just raked the eyes.
If we're bowling, Dave is my bumper, man.
Can we just acknowledge Paul's WCW fanny pack? Wow.
Hold on.
Huge pop. You got any gimmicks in there, brother?
Get a real shot of this.
Got a pill bottle. It's not real unless it's got a pill bottle.
This is not vintage. This is remade, obviously.
It takes a hell of a man to wear salmon-colored shorts, a black tank top, and a purple WCW
and a red
fanny
I
pack.
got nothing to prove. I'm living my dream, and I found a woman who puts up with me. Life is good.
Let it be said, Paul Walter Hauser is wearing his own gimmick shirt.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a. I
was going to say.
I was just going to say, Mick.
Art imitates life, imitates art.
I was going to say, he is Pro Wrestler 101. He woke up and said, you know what? I'm going to put on apricot-colored shorts. I'm going to use a purple fanny pack and use my own gimmick T-shirt tank top.
But God, I hope no one in the airport spots me.
And we're all fine with it.
I'm with Paul. There was a moment in time, and it was about 8-9 years ago at a fair in Kentucky where I'm sitting with Jim Cornette. I love Corny. Always have, always will. And I asked a fan to get me a funnel cake. And when Jimmy sees me, he's like, Cactus, you okay with all that sugar on your shirt? And I was like, I'm no longer playing by society's rules. I no longer care.
Wait a minute. You asked a fan to buy you a funnel cake?
Oh, I do it all the time.
Some things never change.
That's a flex, man. That's a flex.
You know what, though? What Mick just said, I want to repeat it, and because I'm living it right now. there comes a point in your life, and I hope everybody gets there, where you just don't give a shit anymore, where you just don't care. Like,
Look to your left.
Oh, come on, Bolo.
Mick, how long did it take you to reach in your pocket real slow for them to get it that you wasn't gonna pay?
Well, usually when you reach out the T-Rex claw, let me get that as you withdraw the hand where it can do
Oh,
no
never mind,
damage.
Mick. I'll get it.
What? Are you sure?
Okay.
Mark,
Foley
you sure?
would be an
No,
honor
you
to
don't
get
have
you a
to.
final.
It's got a 90% success rate.
Is there truth to the story that back in the day, you and Austin used to try to out-cheap each
No,
other?
me and Owen.
You and
Owen.
Owen.
That was
Yeah,
the-
me and Owen.
Out-cheap each other?
Yes. We started on the road with like a $20 bill, no credit cards allowed, relying solely on the kindness of fans. And I think Owen tapped out on day 3, and I still had $5 left. Yeah.
So you and Owen you guys would legit like spend the night at a fan's house. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, many a time.
All the time.
What's wrong with that?
You want to know why I stopped?
I had to quit riding with him because he was like, well,
it's
just
to your
drop
own
me off
detriment, but-
drop me off at this person's house. And I was like, what? Where do they live? And he's like, well, I don't know. We just got to get the address. Well, I'm staying near the airport, man. Like, I'm not driving you 30 minutes away to somebody's house because
amazing.
it's free.
You know, Owen had the connection with Disney, right? But the guy insisted on staying with you the whole day, including when The Rock was on his honeymoon. And the guy, he just wants him to get him in the doors. This is when Dwayne didn't need, he was getting there, but he wasn't quite the biggest star in the world. But he said after a while, he's like, dude, like, are you going to be here all day? I'm on my honeymoon. And so Owen ended up, he would save the $80 a day, $70 a day. And then because he really was a good friend to these fans, he wasn't,
No, it was genuine.
he was genuine. He ended up going to the guy's wedding and missing the Garden, missing Philadelphia, missing Boston. I said, so Owen, this guy's probably saved you about $1,000 over the years. Yeah, it probably is. And he just cost you like $9,000. Yeah, pretty much. I look at the money I saved over the years by tripling up instead of doubling up until 2000. Then when I became the commissioner, I was already meeting you guys on the road. So I got my own car, my own hotel, all that kind of changed my ways. But up until 2000, yeah, I was still scratching and clawing. And the reason why I stopped doing that is I was staying not on the couch, but in the spare room of a manager, independent manager. He was a good manager too. I don't want to say his name because the story's a little bit on the disparaging side. And about 9 o'clock in the morning, there's this parade of people coming by and leaving fairly quickly. And I was like, oh, man, he's really abusing this friendship by having people come by to take a look at the WWE champion. I was a champion at the time. Had a little talk with myself. No, Mick, you don't look down on your fans. They're the people who made you what you are. The guy called me the next day to apologize, and I said, hey, I understand. It's not very often I get to meet the WWE champion. He says, no, they weren't there to see you. And I said, what were they there for? He said, my girlfriend's a crack dealer. And that was the last time I stayed at a fan's house. That was when I started pulling out the credit card and going with the 2 to 3
Now, can you say
stars.
the guy's name for those of our fans
let's
listening?
don't. Let's don't name him.
There are some fans of ours who do crack. It would be fortuitous if they knew who to go to.
Mick, did you ever stay with Downtown Bruno in Memphis?
No, I didn't even
So
know.
me and Dwayne, when we were working in Memphis territory, we stayed with Downtown Bruno, and he had a tarp over the backside of his double wide because there was a hole in the roof,
And he wasn't ready to fix it yet.
and he wasn't ready to fix it. And I had to stay in that room because Dwayne was like, "Hey man, this is a bigger room, Mark. You can stay in here." You know how he works everybody.
Yeah.
And he worked me in the stand, and I could hear crickets and all of outdoors. If a car went by, I thought the car was in the room.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Downtown Bruno, this is legit here. Bruno and I have been reconnecting. We knew each other way back when, but you know what it's like in the business? You realize 10 years have gone by, and all you've said to somebody is, "Hey, brother, how's it going?" And you don't think anything of it until you realize a lot of time's gone by. Like, how many people we actually see and talk to at WrestleCon, right? It's like, hey, brother, how you doing? You're hustling and all that, and you realize, wow, 3 days have gone by. I haven't even caught up with people. Bubba, keep me on track. What was I talking about?
The acting world is like that too, by the way.
Tell me, what was my subject?
You were talking about Bruno.
Oh, Bruno, yeah. So
Were you trying to catch me as if I wasn't listening?
no,
to you, Nick?
I forgot what I was talking about.
Oh,
Hence
must
why
be
you
those
don't
chair
take
shots.
unprotected chair shots.
There you go.
But
And by the way, thank you, because we learned from you.
right, yeah, I've learned what not to do, right?
No, what to do.
What to do. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. But we're trying to tell the new
Bruno,
generation.
Bruno.
Yeah, I said something in my art. I talked fondly of him, but I called him a sniveling runt of a man, and that's not nice. It's not cool.
Nice.
I mean, I meant it in jest, but I want to apologize publicly to Downtown Bruno for, that's not the way you talk about your friends.
Come on, Jack. Oh, last time I went down to the store, I saw one of the action figures. I bought 2 of them.
For those that don't know, Downtown Bruno, by the way, if you're listening,
That's a good
this
Bruno.
is a fan who takes people in, right? That
He
is
was up.
He always took care of
Harvey
the boys.
Whipple.
Harvey Wimpleman.
He would give the shirt off his back.
Okay.
For the
He
boys.
was he took care of Rock, and when Rock was when his father was actually working in Memphis, and him and Rock, and that's why Rock was so.
Around the come up. Okay, there's
Yeah.
95, 96.
I didn't even know that until Dwayne was interviewed, and he said they asked him who the greatest wrestler of all time was. He said Downtown Bruno. Because he took him in when he needed help,
Yeah.
Oh man.
And in Young Rock, he was one of the big characters in the TV series Young Rock.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I got to that's not. Yeah, I got to binge that.
Speaking of TV series, the Hauser Foley connection, if it happens, and it might happen, he's on the short list to portray me
Dude,
in my death match day.
I'm hoping that happens, man. I genuinely want
That
to
would
happen.
be awesome.
Because you know what, we don't look that similar, but
I'm
not.
way
Hey,
shorter
with
than
a
you.
prosthetic wig and a gray
Right.
beard,
But you are
Prosthetic
shorter,
penis?
but people think I'm short. I worked short. I was all gnarled over, and people thought I was 5'10". I was legit 6'4" when I got into a little shorter now. Yeah,
We
but
can
I
do
was
that Lord of the Rings casting where you get the tall guy next to me. So
Mick, I remember meeting you for the first time when WCW did a show at the Paramount at the Garden.
yeah, that's right.
And that's the first time I stood next to you, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's big.
That was me and Rude, right?
I don't remember. I
me
just
and Rude,
remember that you were you were legit
Yeah.
6'4" when you were standing up straight, right?
Yeah. I was less gnarled as, WCW Cactus because, when I did Mankind, that was kind of like, the gnarled over. And nature was kind of helping me because there was about a 6-month period. I didn't know. I thought I'd have to retire. Francois Petit, he, what the manipulations he would do in the dressing room were nothing like he would do in his apartment. Because, I remember Jack Lanza saying, no, he got up and walked out because Francois had those strong fingers, and he would get in there and he would manipulate things in your forearm, and he would have you extend your hand, and it was extreme pain. Extreme pain. But when I walked in, he said I looked like a question mark. Al Snow, even as you said, was walking like a question mark. And when I walked out of there, I was walking straight.
This guy Francois, I know for people that are listening right now, Francois was a massage therapist. He worked on All the Boys back in the WWE. He helped straighten guys out. This guy was the guy that ran into the ring when Steve broke his neck.
Yeah.
And Francois said to the boys, and I think he thoroughly believed this, that
I
if
can fix it.
he thought he could fix Steve's broken neck
I can
on
fix
the
it.
spot. Mark, you were there.
I was there. I can fix it. That's what he said.
He did
And
a lot
I
of...
don't, he was like what's the Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. He was
the guy in Mortal Kombat, the blue one with the ice.
Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero.
Paul, I want to get back to what Mick just mentioned, the potential of you playing him in a film,
or a limited series. I don't know. I got a call from CAA. They were like, hey, or no, my manager, Brian Walsh, called me. He's like, I just spoke with someone at CAA. They said they have the life rights to Mick Foley, and they were putting out a feeler to see if you would ever consider that. I'm like, are you joking? That sounds like something I would ask you guys to go hunt down and do. So I don't know where it's at or what Mick's intentions are, but I to me, that's like the easiest yes in the world.
The thing is, he doesn't have to do an imitation of me. He has to give an interpretation. And, his work speaks for itself, right?
Right.
Really speaks for itself. And so, I'm like, that's a no-brainer.
Go
would also
invest in a
take it- I would
cut-off
take it-
flannel, brother. That's all it is. That's all you need.
I would also take it like deeply seriously because of, I mean, it's the two things outside of my family, the two things I love the most are wrestling and filmmaking. So we're talking about merging the two, I would go the whole 9 yards, put it that way.
And I want to thank you as a wrestling fan and somebody who has made a career talking about wrestling, Paul, and the fact that with everything that you've accomplished, you've given a nod and respect to pro wrestling. You're up.
Tables, bro.
Yeah, I mean, to say that, that's unbelievable.
You're the new Freddie Prinze.
When you said that, you said it the first time at the not the Golden Globes.
Yeah, it was Golden Globes was the first time I said it.
The first time, and I remember Twitter lighting up, and I was like, "What?" This guy said, "Get the tables." I was like, "That can't mean us." And I was just blown away. I didn't realize that I had seen you. I'd seen you in films and stuff, sitting next to the girl on the plane.
Right. I had said what up to you a couple of times at wrestling functions, and you were always like brief but nice and stuff. And you were always
how brief,
See?
Paul.
He said nice.
Hey, how you doing?
brief but nice. I'm being genuine.
I was nice.
Brief but nice.
Nice.
How you doing?
Nice.
Brief is also the
Excuse me, brother. I'm signing.
Say, were you paid? Did you pay for that niceness?
Hold on. Can I make an
connotation there is
announcement?
he's got
Please make an announcement.
I was in a serious automobile accident. Isn't anybody going to ask me about it?
I was going to ask
man.
you.
No, because now you're chasing the hug.
No, because
Now you want to talk
You
about
said
it.
that.
You're fine.
that was Tracy Morgan.
Like,
No,
you
I-
got into a car accident, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal
Your
because
body has been destroyed. You probably should have been dead twice, and you want to talk about your car
Ring
accident.
music started with a car accident.
This is the best point he's
Your
made.
music.
But
it doesn't seem so funny now.
Mick, it was a controversy. It was extremely controversial because it was on April 1st.
Yeah.
The car should have sued you.
So people are like, is this real? Is this not real? Is this an April Fool's joke? And it's like,
If I'd been more with it, I would have said this is not an April Fool's joke. The reason I bring it up is because as of today, High Spots is putting up everything I was wearing, and 100%. They're even waiving any commission. Goes to the Cauliflower Alley Club because I think we realize how lucky we are to have succeeded in this business. My dad was big on a saying there, but for the grace of God, go I. And I mean, any one of us could have been those guys. So I think it's important we try to take care of each other. And so highspots.com, go on there and check out the items, and hopefully we'll raise some money for some wrestlers who need it.
I'm sure there's social media too. If you go on High Spot social media, I'm sure they got a post or two about it too. Check that out.
Cauliflower Alley Club definitely does try to do the right thing by the boys and help them out. Yeah.
Brian Blair is worth his weight in gold. They pay so many of the old guys' bills, and it's just I tell him anytime you need some help, just call us.
And Brian's got that great background with the organization. Organizing. He ran the county that Tampa's in, right?
He was an elected
County.
official. Yeah.
He was also a killer bee.
it's true.
Third match ever. Killer Bees. Yeah.
And Mick, my wife Violetta, who's here in Vegas, big fan of yours.
Yeah.
But she is so tired of hearing your name because Mick, I'll be at the supermarket and I'm tapping people in front of me and telling the story of Nita's wedding. So she's at the point now when she hears the name Mick Foley, she doesn't want to hear it anymore.
It's triggering now.
It was just, I know we've talked about it before. So
I don't know this story at all.
Reader's
I don't
Digest-
know it either.
Okay. So Dave and I are at Nita Strauss's wedding, and they have a live karaoke. And Dave says, "Mick, you want to sing with me?" I said, "Yeah." So what are we? The Turtles.
We did Happy Together. You wanted to do a Partridge. I actually wanted to do an Alice Cooper song because Nita's the guitarist for Alice Cooper, and Alice Cooper was in attendance.
Well,
So
and
I-
Happy Together is a safe move, by the way. Anybody, you can have the worst voice and still probably pull that off.
That's why we picked
Yes.
it. What we did not know is that we did not put it together that 2/3 of her wedding consists of professional, talented musicians.
Right.
And so one guy gets up there, I don't even know who he is, he plays the heck out of Back in Black, right? Yeah. And then the second people up is Alice Cooper with Nita in her wedding gown playing the hell out of Back in the USSR, and I'm 18, and I look at Dave and I go, we better not be next. So right after,
It's a tough act to follow.
they go, "No, Mick and Dave." I said, I'm not doing it, man. I'm not doing it. And Dave is like, "But think of the story we could tell." And we're
Think of the pop.
and you say that anyone could sing it, anyone but me. Actually, we were not that bad. But what
Can y'all give us
bolstered
a sample?
Oh, well, but somebody's got to play the role of a certain rock icon, because as we hit the chorus, I can't see me. And we look out, loving nobody but you for all my life. And who's out there 10 feet from us leading the song? Alice Cooper.
Think about that, Paul. Like, think about you're in the ring for Progress tonight, and your all-time favorite wrestler is sitting at ringside cheering you on.
Tommy Dreamer, are you going to be there?
There you go.
Thank you.
Did wonders for his ego this morning.
Hey, Tommy needed that.
He needed that.
Willie's been beating his ass this whole show.
No, Mount Rushmore VCW without question.
Thank you for that.
Come on.
Who is your favorite wrestler?
My favorite of all time is Sting for a myriad of reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore WCW.
I would also say, you know,
watch an Andre match?
I think the fact that Sting got the arc that he got, it was a little impromptu, obviously, because the NWO thing happens. He becomes the outcast, the pariah, and comes back in that sort of like cloaked manner where they really drew it out in a way that you don't see that often.
They took their time.
And Scott Hall thankfully gave him the idea of Brandon Lee and the Crow and everything. So like, I think just that arc alone from Surfer to Crow is just like so unparalleled. By the time he was in the Wolfpack and did the red paint, everything was fizzling out and getting crazy by 98, 99, that it was kind of whatever by that point. But I think that run of, the Ric Flair days into the Vader Cactus Jack matches, early 90s, into the mid 90s with that transformation, it's like, it's kind of hard to beat that run. It's a beautiful run. And then even being inducted into the Hall of Fame is a very big deal. He got to do WrestleMania, and then Tony Khan, blew his spot up again. So it's pretty crazy. I think that guy is the freaking man.
And I still haven't forgiven Triple H for what they did at WrestleMania 31. There was absolutely no reason to have
WrestleMania
the NWO come out and help Sting and have Sting lose that match at WrestleMania.
They hugged it out.
We want access.
It was weird. It was weird.
Mick,
I in general though, it's like I respect the move from on high. It's WWE. If they're telling the story, the narrative, of course, is like, we did this. We are the head honcho. And
Fuck that, Paul Walter Hauser. Fuck that.
I want to ask a question to Mick. I have a question for Mick. Mick, obviously, you being in so many King of the Deathmatch tournaments back in the day, against Funk, against Onita, Pogo, and all the greats, including yourself who did it. Watching death matches back in the day, for me, was fun and exciting because of the psychology that you incorporated into the gruesomeness of the death match. You could carve yourself to shreds, and you can go through glass, and into C4 explosives, into barbed wire, and it made sense. I got it. I understood it, and I cared about you, and I cared about Onita, and I cared about Funk. How do you feel about modern day deathmatch wrestling?
I haven't seen enough of it to really be a judge of it. I mean, I've taken the last couple years off from 40 years, nonstop wrestling. So we're taking a break, we're taking a little break. I have participated in a couple with Tara Zepp. Is a friend of mine. It takes a lot of guts, in your mid-30s, decide not only do you want to be a wrestler, you want to be a female deathmatch specialist. So while I don't know everything is going on, so I can't, speak to what it's like, the couple matches I've seen have been really good. I went and I did, Tara was supposed to wrestle John Wayne Murdoch. And the guy who replaced him is really good. He's big in deathmatch wrestling, and I was really impressed by him. By the way, he protected her even while anytime you enter a deathmatch, you're taking your chances. But we got to lower the risks by making sure the person in the ring with you takes care of you. Like if you're going to get hurt, let it be because something accidental happens, not because the person in the ring is not taking care of you. Yeah. But one thing I respect so much is that the guys and the women, who dare do this stuff, they're really dedicated. And so I'm doing the wrestling math in my head when I do this run-in. They've got like 8 death matches. There's only about 200 people there. And I'm like, these guys are doing it for the love of this particular genre of wrestling. So if you do support deathmatch wrestling, and I think this goes for indie wrestling too, buy a T-shirt or something, because that's how the guys and the women, for the most part, get by. Some of us are luckier to get a guarantee, but for a lot of them, it's about selling 8 or 10 shirts after the show. So
You may have to use that shirt for a tourniquet.
they may.
I love what you just said, though, too. The idea of, like, the contingency margin for getting hurt in those matches.
Yeah.
It's like you do have to be more cognizant than normal. And how do you remain cognizant when you have 200 people screaming at you and you're bleeding from your forehead? It's tough. Really tough.
As far as the psychology, thank you, but you didn't see a lot of the house shows. When I was with IWA Japan, a lot of times we didn't even see the opponent. That was the case with me and Funk, January 10th, 1995, which is my all-time favorite match because of the effort that went into it. Not that I think it was the best match I had, because I think that was Randy Orton Backlash. But the fact that Terry and I really put everything we had into it, despite not seeing each other before the match, and that made for a better match. But there were times when you didn't see your opponent and you're just trying to put something respectable together. Like, you understand this is not going to be a work of surreal art, which is ultimately what I was hoping for, to create something using all these utensils and have it make some type of sense and build into a crescendo. The procession of the gimmicks, I called it with Edge, where each succeeding gimmick is a little bit deadlier. But sometimes you couldn't get that. You just had to hope for good enough.
So would you prefer to go into a match like that with Terry Funk not knowing a damn thing, or a match with Randy Orton at Backlash where you're basically on the same page?
Yeah. One thing I say is there's no one way to get to the finish line. Great comment from Triple H, and hopefully I'm not. This is meant as a compliment. I say to Triple H, we're looking at something on the screen. I said, Hunter. People are like, wait, you call him Hunter? Like, nobody calls him
Paul.
Rarely Paul. I said, Hunter, you've worked with both Rock and Steve. He goes, yeah. I said, what's the major difference? He goes, Steve's punches hurt like hell and Rock's don't hurt at all. I was like, exactly. But you can't say that one guy did it right and one guy did it wrong. Like, Steve was a lot of things, but an illusionist was not one of them. Like, there's a reason Steve's stuff looks so solid, because it was. But that doesn't mean Rock didn't throw one of the best punches in the world. It's just a different way of getting over the finish line.
100%.
Mick, you're here with Paul Walter Hauser, somebody who's an amazing actor, award-winning actor. He's now being involved in pro wrestling. This is a unique opportunity. What is one piece of advice that you would give to Paul?
If everyone could answer that, that'd be amazing. It'd be helpful to me.
This is the biggest thing I could give anybody, not in wrestling or in life. I think it's one of only 2 wise things I've ever actually said. Don't let anyone define for you what being a success is. Like, if you are having the time of your life in front of 200 fans, you're being a success. It drives me crazy. I understand it, but it drives me crazy, the emphasis great talents have on going into the WWE Hall of Fame. With Leon White being the first one, it drove him crazy that he wasn't in there. I was like, Leon, you're going to get in. And he went in, unfortunately, posthumously. I said, no one could take away what you've done. You were the best big man of your era. And it was like the words were just going in one ear and out the other. It's like, I have to get into that Hall of Fame. And worst of all, and I think this is the reason the Warrior Award changed after Conor the Crusher was inducted, you had parents reaching out to WWE like to honor their children as if that was going to make their lives more substantial. And I talked to parents and I'm like, please, don't let the WWE Hall of Fame's wonderful, and I know, Tommy, you're not in there yet. All of us are.
Wow, shot.
Now he's even on
What
there.
is going on?
Did y'all hear that?
I replaced Al Snow.
Did y'all hear that?
But it's, it's really important, and it is very real when you're up there. And I'll always be proud to be announced as a WWE Hall of Famer. But it doesn't take away from what you're doing.
Right. The fixation isn't healthy.
Yeah. And so I just tell anybody, I believe if I'd had one match in Clarksburg, West Virginia, I'd have a room filled with every grainy 8x10 black and white. that I could find. Instead, I have like a wrestling free home. That's the way some people are. Some people have a lot of wrestling stuff. I really don't have any stuff, except for the three faces of Foley Mattel. That's got to go on the mantle, right? But I just think that you shouldn't let anyone else.
I think the Oscars are like that too. I did this movie Richard Jewell, and everybody's like,
man.
"Bro, you're gonna get nominated again." And I'm like, "That's not healthy for me to hear. Like, let me just bask in the fact that we made a good movie, and I'm eating shrimp cocktail with Clint Eastwood. Like, that should be enough. That's a big
Glad
deal."
you clarified that.
But it was tough, man. They get in your head, PR and agents and all these people, and you just gotta I don't know. The older I get, the more I realize if you can try to manufacture humility and be present, that is the best gift you can give to yourself.
Well, I got some advice for you.
Please, yes.
Don't listen to everybody around you, because everybody around you is not good.
Well, I'll counter by saying listen to it, but develop the ability to filter out what works for you and what doesn't. But don't just completely discard, because you never know when something. Mark, I'm going to disagree with you.
That's fine.
You take in everything, you filter it out, and then you come back. I mean, I've used the example of seeing something Kurt Hennig did, where he would use that bottom rope to get spring when he took something off in the corner, and I thought, I like that, but Kurt took fantastic bumps, and I was like, I didn't have the physical skill to do what he did anyway, but then I was able to apply that bottom rope like for choke slams off the ring apron, with Kane being the main one, where you get 18 more inches of height and you turn a good bump into something really special. And so I do think you should listen to everybody and then filter out that's my take on it. Again, there's no one right
Translation.
way.
The difference.
So
You can hear them, but don't listen to everything.
Sure. What do you?
Now his
I would
brain is
love to
spinning.
Steal something from you and Tommy's brain, if you don't mind.
If you want to be in the world of wrestling,
Yeah.
2 words: get over. That's it. Everything else will take care of the rest. If you get over, that's all it needs to be. Some of the biggest headaches in this business, some of the biggest problem children in this business got over, and the bosses and the bookers and the promoters were willing to deal with all of them.
Yeah.
Because they put asses in seats, they made money for the company. Get over. I once saw this thing online, top 10 things you can do as a pro wrestler. Show up on time, eyes open, mouth shut, and, listen to everybody and practice your craft and blah, blah. You know what was number 10 on the list? Get over. I retweeted. I said, do number 10 first, and everything else will work itself out.
Yeah, I mean,
Mick, yes or no?
Yeah, I was just thinking, if there was a textbook, getting over, there is no, there's no one way to do that. And it's that is the most important thing. And when people say, how do you do that? It's you've got to find a way to make that connection.
Mick, real quick, Tommy, before you go, young boys will ask me all the time, Bubba, what's your best advice? Get over. Same thing to everybody for years. Well, how do I get over? And I go, I don't know. Well, Bubba, what worked for you? I was 402 pounds. I juggled, I danced, I stuttered, and I wore tie-dye. That's not going to work for you. Well, Paul, it might work for you. Here, as a matter of fact, here's a pair of my glasses. Put them on. Okay. You put them on and I'll put them on.
Okay, here we go.
Here you go. Yeah, now you're over.
Caleb, get the tables.
Tommy, you gotta get Tommy.
I do want to hear Tommy, though.
I gotta take a break.
No.
Give him a best.
I know
Mine's long.
No. I want.
So is mine.
So no, we got 3 minutes. Can you do it in 3 minutes?
Sure. You're not over in our world. You're over in another world. And a lot of people will kind of want that for their own use. But you're over with us because of all the things we talk about and what we're having this conversation with. You're respectful and how much you try. And I took a piece of advice from everybody, and then, like Mick said, formulated. That man right there did more for me when he didn't have to. And the fact that you go to him and do stuff like that. I will say Mick Foley, Paul Heyman, Terry Funk are the most influential men in my life, because Mick would think about things and then come back. Why? Why did you do that? Or, damn, I wish we didn't do that, and then correct. And always listen to the one person in the room that disagrees. Because you will have a lot of people who will kiss your ass because of who you are. But if they disagree, and then why? And he would say that all the time to me. Why? Why did you throw 3 punches instead of 2? And simple stuff like that break down. And then also from what my trainer said, Johnny Rods, is, and we all say this, think, shoot, but work. You could have so many matches. How come you don't go for a cover? How come you don't want to win? Simplest stuff like that.
And if y'all ever acted and I had a note or something, I would give it to you because I care about you and want you to do well. So like that's, to me, that's reciprocity. By the way, just to close, I stopped sending him full matches and I just send clips.
Okay.
I just send
And you're going to
You
be.
said reciprocity 2 times on the show, and it's a 5-syllable word, and this is just a pro wrestling show.
I still
I'm
don't know.
sorry,
I still don't know what that means. I don't even know what you're talking about. As a matter of fact, I take offense. I think you're trying to talk over my head. You got Progress Wrestling tonight, 11:59, Pearl Theater at Palms Casino. And Mick, you're at WrestleCon.
I'm at WrestleCon, and also the 40 Years of Foley tour is hitting 30 different cities. Just go to realmickfoley.com. We're working on Austin. We got San Antonio, we got Fort Worth, and Austin and San Antonio are kind of close. So the idea is we're going to try to sell some tickets to San Antonio and then insert Austin a couple months out.
and go to High Spots to get that cauliflower alley
Yep, we're going to help
stuff.
the guys.
Go there, please.
Okay, Paul Walter Hauser, Mick Foley, thank you so much for the time, man. I know you
Honored.
guys,
Thank you, guys.
are super busy, so the fact you took the time to come here, we truly appreciate it. Thank you.